So life happens in stages, step by step. Can you hear me? Good. Make sure. Life happens in stages, step by step, season by season, and that's exactly what happened to the Israelites as they came out of Egypt. And we see in our text that Moses is recounting Israel's journey here in chapter 33 as the second generation is on the edge of the promised land, getting ready to go over and take what God has given to them. So these are the stages of the people of Israel when they went out of Egypt. So this recounting is going to start at the very beginning when they came out of Egypt. We're told in verse 2 that Moses wrote down their starting places, stage by stage, by command of the Lord, and these are their stages according to their starting places. Moses recorded the journeys of Israel. Moses had a spiritual journal, if you will, and it'd be very good for you and I to write down our starting places stage by stage. Am I going to say it's a command of the Lord? No, I'm not. But you will be benefited. Friend, listen to me. You'll be so benefited if you write down the things that the Lord has taught you. I have, and it's not in here. We have what we call a spiritual journal that many people, several people, I should say, have been using within our church for them to regularly record the things that the Lord has taught them to do. If you're interested in that, reach out to me. And I can put you in contact with somebody that'll help you record your starting places stage by stage and for you to keep a spiritual journal. So in a sense, this is a real fancy God inspired journal that Moses has kept by. And there really are seasons in our life, and when we reflect on the past and what God has done, there can be great teachings, there can be great rejoicing, there can even be great sorrows as we read what has happened in the past. But all along, we will see that God has been working. That's indeed the case if we look through each of these places. We say that when they start being in Ramesses in Egypt on the day after Passover. The very first Passover, everyone, they leave Egypt and they leave while the Egyptians are burying their firstborn. And it goes on. Every place is listed. There's a story behind each one of these places, going all the way to the end of this section where they are um, where they're setting out from Kadesh. They come to Mount Hor, and that is where Aaron dies and is taken to the Lord. Aaron dies when he's 123 years old. And then we see the story about the Canaanite king. We go on and on and on. And finally, we are at the place in the plains of Moab where they have just won their victory. They are preparing to go into the promised land. And so, while they are in the plains of Moab, by the Jordan at Jericho. Remember, that's the first place they're going to attack when they go. The Lord tells Moses this command. He says, "Speak to the people of Israel. Say to them, when you pass over the Jordan into the land of Canaan, then you shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their figured stones, and destroy all their metal images, and demolish all their high places." All of these places that were used to worship false gods, in reality, to worship demons. I always believe that if anybody's worshiping a false god, that in reality they are playing with the demonic world, that have true powers and true abilities, but in reality they are merely demonic. They are not truly gods, but that there are powers associated with these things. And so the Israelites were commanded to drive them out. They were an atrocious, terrible, ungodly, very morally bankrupt society. I do want to say that this command was to Israel and Israel alone in this particular situation. This is not you should not take these commands as any sort of support to going and driving people out of their land. But I take this command And let's transfer it into New Testament Christianity, post Jesus, the fulfillment of everything Israel was supposed to do, the fulfillment of everything the Old Testament was. And that is, now we have this great mission of sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ. So the people of Israel were called to go into the promised land and drive out the inhabitants. What do we get to do? We get to go out into all the world, and we get to call people to repentance, call people to Jesus Christ, call people to walk over from death into life. Isn't that wonderful? That's your command, not to drive out the people from the land of Canaan. We get to go into all the world and say, hey, why don't you read the Bible with me? Hey, why don't you come to church? Hey, why don't you read this little booklet that transformed my life called Steps to Peace with God? I have many of these little booklets you can take and share with your friends. And we can go, and instead of driving people out of the promised land, we can be inviting people into the promised land, inviting people into heaven. So that was their command, and they're getting ready to go and tackle Jericho. I pray that has been a blessing to you, and I'll see you in the next video.